Chapter 9. The Bloom Killaz. Not every flower grows for peace, some bloom for war. Blood still stained the soles of Bud's kicks as he stepped into the Grow Union's safe house deep in Trichome Alley. The walls dripped with resin, the ceiling lit by hacked grow lights set to mimic high noon in Humboldt. The smell? Pure pine, diesel, and death. Mary Jane sat cross-legged on a stack of vacuum-sealed bricks, licking blunt glue like she was sealing someone's fate. "City still hot," she said, not looking up. Otto gone, but the soil still crying. Bud didn't answer. He dropped the bloodied machete on the table beside a jar labeled Soul Widow, a strain so potent it was rumored to silence PTSD in a single puff. He lit up. The smoke curled like ghosts returning to haunt the streets they died on. "Bodies talk," he said finally. "And that lab ain't the last mouth Otto fed spores to." Just then, Twisha kicked in the door, dragging a skinny, twitching figure wrapped in a duffel bag that leaked green slime. "Caught this lil spore head trying to torch our Southfield crop," she growled. "Was babbling about the Bloom Killaz." Mary Jane's eyes narrowed. "The fuck is that?" The figure groaned. A boy. Couldn't be older than 16, lips purple, eyes jittery like he'd mainlined synthetic shatter. "They bloom from inside," he mumbled. "Not plants, people." Bud knelt down, pulled the boy's hoodie back. The kid's skin shimmered like chlorophyll under sweat. He wasn't high. He was changing. Twisha stepped back. "Bud, he ain't human no more." Bud stood up, pulled his piece, and without blinking, pop! Silence. Smoke rose from the boy's skull like incense from a cursed altar. Mary Jane lit the blunt off the muzzle. "Then we got another war." Across town in the ruins of Glasstrap Plaza, a faction of survivors huddled in a hydroponic basement, whispering about sightings. Bodies reanimated with vines in their veins. Dealers disappearing, only to return with hollow eyes and lungs that exhaled smoke without fire. They called them the Bloom Killaz, humans infected by Otto's final strain. Green Lazarus, designed to make plants think like men. Instead, it made men think like wild, unrooted plants, hungry for light, blood, and dominance. These weren't growers, they were spores with trigger fingers. One Bloom killer was spotted inside a Moonrock mart, strangling an old man with a drying rack. Another walked into a rival trap on Rolling Papers Boulevard, asked for a zip, and blew the place sky-high with his own combusting breath. And in the middle of it all, a rumor. Otto's last backup body was hidden in the ruins of Seed Bank 44, protected by 4 Bloom Killaz and 1 rogue Grow Union trader, Sticky Rick, who once trained Bud and got kicked for dipping pre-rolls in formaldehyde. Bud got word through a blunt past burner text. It read, "Find Rick. Kill the seed." Bud, Mary Jane, and Twisha hit the road in a blacked-out dispensary truck tagged Weed 4 Need, the side panels layered with fake donation crates hiding MAC-10 flamethrowers and mason jars of strain-coated grenades. Destination: Seed Bank 44, a shattered greenhouse complex once run by the Department of Plant Defense, until Otto overran it and warped it into a resurrection chamber for his mutant genetics. As they drove through Spliff Hill, the burned-out husks of old trap houses loomed like forgotten grow tents. The streetlights flickered green, pulsing like the heartbeat of the city itself. Nervous, angry, alive. "Rick always was a bitch," Twisha muttered, checking the safety on her flamethrower. "Used to lace brownies with bad Molly, then blame it on terpene surges." "He's more than a bitch now," Bud said. "He's fertilizer." They parked 2 blocks out and approached on foot, cutting through alleys scented with moldy hash and death. As they neared the gate, a shadow moved. It didn't walk. It slithered upright, feet dragging, dreadlocks twitching like vines in a storm. First Bloom Killer. Mary Jane didn't wait. Blam, blam. The body exploded into a mess of green sludge and spores, but the air stayed heavy. The spores hovered like they had intention. Don't breathe in, Bud warned. He pulled a blunt laced with activated charcoal. Smoke or choke? They lit up together. Inside the compound, the smell of chlorophyll and rot filled the halls. Tanks full of floating limbs, rows of grow beds soaked in blood. Twisha stumbled on a corpse, its eyes wide, mouth agape, with a flowering bud sprouting from its tongue. A sticky note taped to its chest read, "The seed knows you're coming." Rick's voice came from the intercom next. "Bud, my pupil, you still rolling that weak-ass Pineapple Express? I'm on some other shit now." A laughter echoed, wet, hollow. Then, the walls cracked. 4 Bloom Killaz emerged from behind a curtain of hanging vines, twisted, grinning, covered in bark-like flesh and armor, made of dried colas and joint tubes fused with their bones. Battle broke out. Twisha doused one in ethanol oil and lit it with a flame kiss. Mary Jane dual-wielded pistols, shooting hollow tips dipped in THC resin that sparked on impact. Bud pulled out the gas mask cannon, a sawed-off shotgun modified to fire live resin gas. One shot flooded the hallway. One inhale, paralyzed. By the end, 3 Bloom Killaz burned. One crawled, moaning, begging in spores. But it wasn't over. The final door burst open. Sticky Rick stepped out wearing a cloak of dried leaves and a crown of broken vape pens. His face had melted into bark. His teeth, rolled papers. He was no longer human. "Welcome back, student," he whispered. Behind him, a tank. Inside the tank, Otto, alive, reborn, floating in nutrient-rich smoke, smiling. Bud stared at Otto's regenerating body inside the nutrient tank, pulsing veins shaped like stalks, lungs filling with smoke like hit chambers, his smirk curling under a resin-glossed lip. Mary Jane raised her pistol. "Shooting that tank won't kill him," Rick croaked. "He's spored into the fucking roots now." "Then we ripped the whole root out," Bud growled. Rick moved fast, but not faster than Twisha's knee to his jaw. His bark flesh cracked, spilling green oil. He swung wildly with a machete made from a fused trimming blade and a grinder. Bud blocked with his elbow, jammed a joint into Rick's eye socket, and lit it. The scream smelled like burnt mango kush and betrayal. Mary Jane unleashed the thermite round straight into the tank. Otto's eyes shot open. He screamed, not with pain, but communication, and the entire lab started vibrating like a live plant about to seed. Tubes burst, walls cracked. The roots beneath the building roared. Twisha tossed a grow grenade, hydro-coated explosive lined with shatter wax and lime rinds. Bud and Mary Jane dragged Rick's smoldering husk backward as the detonation hit. Boom! The blast blew half the lab sky high, raining shattered glass and cloned chromosomes across Trichome Alley. When the dust settled, the seed bank was a crater. Rick's crown floated in a pool of nutrient ash. Otto's body, nowhere. Back at the Grow Union HQ, Bud sat silent, watching spores dance under a microscope. "They killed the body," he muttered, "but his strain's still out there." Mary Jane placed her hand on his. "So we smoke it out. Every bud, every bitch, until Highgardens is ours." Twisha raised a blunt. "To the Bloom Killaz," she said, "and the fire we burn 'em with." They lit up together, the smoke rising like a new dawn, gray, loud, and laced with vengeance.